I raised my son as my heir, but he resented my controlling nature. In secret, he sided with my ex-husband and treated the mistress like his own mother. After obtaining the inheritance, he kicked me out of the house and immediately brought my ex-husband and the mistress home. Opening my eyes again, I looked at my son, who was reluctant to go to tutoring class. I gently told him, "If you don't like attending these tutoring classes, I respect your choice. From now on, you don't have to go." I then turned around and began to nurture the child I was sponsoring. Since he dislikes it so much, I'll just let someone else inherit the family fortune. "Madam, the young master refuses to go to the tutoring classes." The butler called from home. I was dazed for a moment, looking at the office desk before me, a wave of familiarity washing over me. This was my office, no longer that damp, shabby house. "Am I reborn, madam?" the butler called out nervously. I came back to my senses and replied, "If he doesn't want to go, then don't force him." In my past life, I ignored my family's objections and married a man from a humble background. Little did I expect that he would use my busy work schedule as an excuse, claiming he was too lonely. Not only did he cheat, but he also fathered an illegitimate daughter. In a fit of rage, I kicked him out with nothing. But I never imagined that my son would think I was too domineering and had abandoned his gentle father. No matter how much I tried to explain, he wouldn't listen and even developed a rebellious attitude. Not only did he acknowledge the mistress as his mother, but the moment he obtained the inheritance rights, he kicked me out of the house, cancelled all my cards, and immediately welcomed my ex-husband and the mistress into the home. In this life, since you despise the path I paved for you so much, then let someone else inherit the family fortune. When I returned home in the evening, I saw my junior high school son sitting on the sofa playing with his phone. As soon as he saw me enter, he quickly hid the phone in his pocket, a look of guilt in his eyes. I pretended not to notice and asked, "Why didn't you go to your piano tutoring class today?" A flicker of disgust showed in his eyes, but he quickly lowered his head. "Mom, I'm feeling a bit unwell today." I didn't call out his clumsy lie and asked gently, "Do you not like this kind of life? If so, I respect your choice. I won't force you to study anymore. You can do whatever you want." My son's eyes lit up instantly, and he asked in disbelief, "Really?" I nodded. "Really?" My son immediately hugged me, his voice muffled. "Mom, I don't like taking those classes. What's the point of them?" I held back the urge to throw him out. "Then we won't take them anymore." The next day, I called those tutoring centers and told them my son would no longer attend their classes. They were all a bit surprised, but I continued, adding that I had found someone else to take his place. After hanging up the phone, I drove to a rather barren countryside and finally found him in a dilapidated, drafty house. As I stepped inside, I met the boy's startled gaze. He stood up and asked politely, "Hello, can I help you?" I looked at the boy who was wearing thin clothes covered in patches. What kind of life was this child living? My eyes reddened, seeing me staring at his clothes. The boy clenched his small hands, looking a bit at a loss. I quickly composed myself and gave him a gentle smile. "Little one, what's your name?" "My name is Leo." I recalled that in my past life, the first time I met Leo was at a parent-teacher meeting for my son. Leo was my son's classmate. He had excellent grades and an impeccable character, but his family was struggling. His relatives had passed away when he was very young. Half of his tuition fees over the years were covered by subsidies and the other half by his own part-time jobs. I really admired his perseverance, no matter how difficult it was. He never gave up on his studies. So I supported him from high school all the way through college graduation. He was very sensible, working part-time during college to gradually pay me back for the support I had given him, and every holiday he would send me blessings and gifts. What surprised me the most was that after I was kicked out by my own son, he took me in and kept me there. Even when my son found out and caused his newly started company to collapse, he still didn't abandon me. It can be said that Leo was my greatest regret in my past life. I pretended to ask about his family and a look of sadness crossed his face. He told me his mother had run away and his father had just passed away not long ago. Now he had no family left. I gently ruffled his hair and said with sympathy, "Leo, do you want to come home with me? I'll be your mother from now on." And just like that, I brought Leo home. As soon as I opened the door, I saw Leo looking uneasy. I patted his head and said with a smile, "Leo, don't be afraid. From now on, this is your home. Once Mom finishes all the paperwork in the next few days, I'll change your name to Ethan." Ethan nodded, revealing a sweet smile. "Thank you, Mom." "Mom, who is he?" My son walked down from upstairs, sizing up Ethan. Ethan awkwardly hid behind me. I took his hand and introduced him to my son. "This is Ethan. From now on, he will be your older brother." My son's eyes widened, his face full of disbelief. "Mom, are you joking? I'm your only son. Now there are two." I ignored him and led Ethan to the room specially prepared for him. "Ethan, don't mind him. He's just an idiot." Ethan looked at me with confusion. I pinched his little cheek. "You'll understand later." Walking downstairs, I saw the look on my son's face as if he wanted to say something but held back. I sat on the sofa and pretended not to see him. Finally, he couldn't help but ask me, "Mom, why did you suddenly bring that dirty kid home?" I frowned in displeasure and said, "Derek, where are your manners? I told you, Ethan is your brother." My son clenched his hands in frustration. "But, don't overthink it. You know that being an heir of the Carter family isn't easy. Those tutoring classes are essential for the Carter family heir. If you don't want to attend, it wouldn't look good if other members of the Carter family found out. Mom was afraid those people would make things difficult for you, so she found someone around your age to take your place in class." I put on a look of concern for her, and my son immediately relaxed, even thanking me. I sneered inwardly. "In this life, you'll just have to watch helplessly as your inheritance is taken away by someone else." A few days later, I transferred Ethan to the same school as my son. My son didn't make things difficult for him. He thought Ethan was just a substitute helping him attend class, so he didn't take it seriously at all. Soon a semester passed, and Ethan ranked first in the entire school, while my son's grades dropped from the top 10 in the grade to outside the top 200. I was very satisfied with these two report cards, as neither surprised me. Ethan was not only smart but also hardworking, whereas my son, though somewhat clever, had not been under my supervision this semester, so his mind was often not on his studies, and he gradually became lax. After receiving the report cards, I praised Ethan and then asked my son why his grades had dropped so much, whether he had not been studying diligently. Seeing that Ethan was praised with a happy face, but when it came to him, it suddenly turned so serious. He felt unwilling and said, "You only care about grades. Only when someone gets good grades do you give them a smile." After saying that, he angrily ran off to my ex-husband's house. I learned from my assistant that the mistress had even bought him a fish to eat. My son was so moved that he bluntly said, "If only she were my mother." Upon hearing this, I sneered coldly. Then I placed a piece of abalone into Ethan's bowl and said, "Ethan, eat more. There's also king crab here." Ethan looked at me calmly and immediately ate the abalone. "It's delicious. Mom, you should have some, too." My heart warmed, and I patted his head. "You're such a thoughtful son." I only gave him a smile when he got good grades. He probably forgot that no matter what score he got on exams, I never said a word to him. It's just that this time I changed my attitude, and he became unhappy. This semester, Ethan also noticed that I wasn't that attentive to my son, and at the same time, he thought Derek was a fool, because he saw with his own eyes Derek going to my ex-husband's house, affectionately calling the mistress auntie and addressing the illegitimate daughter as little sister. That night, he hesitated, looking at me as if he wanted to say something but held back, seemingly afraid that speaking would upset me. His handsome face was twisted in conflict, until finally, he mustered the courage to ask, "Mom, what kind of things would make you very sad?" Looking at that little face finally squeezing out those words, I laughed out loud and pretended to think for a moment before saying, "Probably taking an enemy as a mother." Ethan's body stiffened, instantly realizing that I also knew about that matter. I ruffled his hair and said, "Be good, Ethan, Mom isn't sad anymore. Now, I only see you as my son. I asked him if he thought I was too controlling. He shook his head and said seriously, I really like these. My heart warmed. I told him the truth, explaining why I had him take those tutoring classes. My goal was to groom him to become the next heir of the Carter family. Ethan, don't feel burdened. Look at Derek as my own son. But he always sides with outsiders. What do you think he would do with the Carter Corporation? So, in this regard, I still trust you. You're a good child. Ethan nodded earnestly. Mom, don't worry. I won't let you down. And I won't let you get hurt. In the evening, my son still didn't come home. I couldn't be bothered to call him, only learning through my assistant that while he was taking out the trash with the mistress that night, he complained that the house was too big and lonely, and that it was cozier and more comfortable here. Hearing this, I sneered. Since he finds my villa so lonely, let him stay in that cramped 3-bedroom apartment of his. A few days later, my son slunk back home. The first thing he did was confront me, asking, Mom, why haven't you called me all this time? Is work all you care about? I looked at him standing before me with an angry expression, raised an eyebrow, and said, What? Finally willing to come home? It's not as comfortable living outside as in the villa. So, I came back. His expression was a bit unnatural. He didn't dare tell me he had been staying at my ex-husband's place, but I knew he definitely hadn't been comfortable there. After all, I know exactly what kind of people my ex-husband and the mistress are. Now, they only take care of him because their son is the heir of the Carter family. As the company's heir, being so easily fooled by others, I really wonder how the Carter Corporation fared after my death in my previous life. I saw his phone light up, and I knew it must be that scumbag and his family sending their fake concern. He put down his phone and said, Mom, you don't care about me at all. Your eyes are only on work, and you never see me. No wonder Dad ended up with Auntie back then. Before he could finish, I slapped him hard. He really is just as ungrateful as his father. Does he think these years have been easy for me? The internal strife in the Carter family is severe. I work every day not just to give them a better life. I have to support not only them, but also tens of thousands of employees in the Carter family business. He said he was too busy, too lonely. So, he took my money to support his mistress and illegitimate daughter. You bastard. Get out of here. Since you think your father's actions are right, then go live with him. Don't stay with me. My son, after I slapped him, looked at me in disbelief. Because this was the first time I had ever hit him. He shouted loudly, Fine. I'll leave. Do you think I want to stay with you? If it weren't for Dad feeling sorry for you and not fighting for custody of me, I wouldn't be with you. After saying that, he turned and left the house without looking back. I snorted coldly. Sure enough, he believed everything his father said. That deadbeat, who was both broke and unfaithful, couldn't even afford to raise him, which was why he voluntarily gave up custody. In my past life, I overlooked my ex-husband's little tricks. He watched my strict parenting style and then gently told our son in front of me that I was too harsh, presenting himself as a kind father in our son's eyes. And I was the controlling, overbearing mother who deprived him of his free time. Sure enough, it wasn't long before I received a message from my assistant saying that my son had gone to my ex-husband's house again. But before the summer vacation was over, he came back because there was no money left in his card. And since I hadn't transferred any money, his ex-husband persuaded him to return home. When sending him off, the ex-husband even said a lot of sentimental things. This made my son feel even more unbalanced. He had been away from home for over a month, yet I hadn't called him once or transferred a single cent. He felt that his father was the one who truly cared for him, even giving him 100 yuan for cab fare when he came back. I had my assistant check, and only then did I find out that the over 200,000 yuan in my son's card had been completely squandered by my ex-husband's family in just 1 month. My son had bought his ex-husband a watch, his mistress a gold necklace, and his illegitimate daughter a designer bag. All the daily expenses of their family of 3 were paid with his card. When money ran out, she would tell a few lies to trick him into coming home, and finally give him 100 yuan, which he was incredibly touched by. My son was sitting on the sofa when he saw Ethan and me coming home together. He called out, "Mom." I responded coldly, then told Ethan about the competition I would be attending in a few days. My son awkwardly watched Ethan and me chatting, unable to join in. Finally, he got angry and went straight back to his room, thinking to himself that Dad was indeed the better one. This month, I took Ethan back to the Carter family's old residence to visit his parents and told them about what their son had done. Both of them were furious, never expecting that they had raised an ungrateful wretch. I told my parents about my plan to make Ethan the heir of the Carter family. They were silent for a long time before agreeing. They told me that the Carter family was already mine, and I could make any decisions on my own. But for now, I should not let those few members of the Carter family know. A few years passed quickly, and Ethan became more and more outstanding. He participated in many competitions, not only in physics, chemistry, and other academic contests, but also in piano, calligraphy, and other events. Several top foreign universities had already sent him offers months ago, but he chose to be recommended for admission to a top domestic university. Meanwhile, my son was becoming increasingly degenerate. I can't bear to look at my son's dismal grades. Ever since I stopped disciplining him, he had become much more relaxed. On top of that, he didn't attend those tutoring classes he used to, and with more free time, he became addicted to video games. Plus, I give him an Ethan 20,000 yuan every month, so my son lives a very comfortable life. He constantly talks about being the heir of the Carter family, a well-known domestic enterprise that claims not to recognize him. He also enjoys being called the crown prince of the Carter family. So, he hangs out with a bunch of bad friends, wasting his time and learning nothing useful. I know all of this, but I turn a blind eye to it. The next time I saw my ex-husband was at our son's high school parent-teacher meeting during his senior year. He was dressed in a suit, and his handsome face, combined with a mature demeanor, quickly drew a crowd of admiring glances. I glanced at him and then looked away. There was no doubt that my ex-husband was handsome. That was why I had been so captivated by him back then, willing to marry a poor man. But inside, he had nothing to offer. In simple terms, he was just a pretty face. He spotted me in the crowd as well, and with a delighted expression, he walked over to greet me. "Clara, you came to the parent-teacher meeting for our son, too. That kid told me you weren't coming, so I came instead. See, you do care about him after all." A trace of embarrassment flickered across our son's face. He hadn't even told me about the parent-teacher meeting. For a moment, he stood behind his father, not daring to look at me. My ex-husband continued, "Clara, if you ask me, you're still too strict. What child doesn't love to play? Anyway, he's the heir of the Carter family, so it'll be fine in the end." I cut him off, my tone icy cold. "Damien, have you forgotten how I drove you away? Don't think that just because you have Derek as a son, you can talk to me again. Also, the heir of the Carter family is chosen through selection. Do you think a useless fool can make it? In the Carter family, only strength is recognized. No matter what, I won't let someone without ability inherit." My ex-husband's face stiffened, and he stammered, "But Derek is your biological son. He should inherit the family property, right? Damien, what little tricks are you playing? Do you think I don't know anything?" I sneered. "Did you think I'd just let you off easily after your affair? Back then, you took several million from the Carter family, thinking you could start your own company, but every venture failed. Who do you think was behind that?" My ex-husband pointed at me, his hand trembling with rage. "So, it was you all along. Clara, how could you be so vicious?" Seeing his twisted expression, I felt a surge of satisfaction. "You didn't think I was unaware of those millions you secretly took, did you? I did it on purpose, giving you a glimmer of hope only to crush it. I wanted you to taste the consequences of betraying me." My ex-husband glared at me as if he wanted to tear me apart. "Mom." A clear, cool male voice came from beside me. I saw Ethan walk up to me, and I responded before leaving with him. As we left, I heard my ex-husband asking our son who Ethan was and why he was calling me mom. My guess was right. My ex-husband's family definitely didn't know about me adopting Ethan. That's why, no matter how unseriously our son studied, they never worried, because they believed he would inevitably inherit the Carter family. But now that I have another son, combined with what I just said, he had to admit he was panicking. Seeing our son remain silent, he could no longer maintain his composed facade and roared in anger. Ethan, I asked who he is. I caught a glimpse of my son's unpleasant expression. This was probably the first time his father had torn off his hypocritical mask, and my son had never seen him like this before. I felt a pang of distress in my heart. I stopped paying attention to them and walked into Ethan's classroom with him. Ethan had already been recommended for admission, so he no longer needed to attend classes. However, the homeroom teacher had invited me again, hoping I would share how to educate children during this parent-teacher meeting. That evening, just as Ethan and I returned home, my son sat silently on the sofa and looked at me with displeasure. Mom, what did you mean by what you said earlier? And why are you targeting Dad? You know very well that Dad hasn't been doing well all these years. What's the point of doing this? Do you really think Dad will ever look back at you? Do you think a man would like a woman as domineering as you? You're nothing like Aunt Vivian, who is kind and gentle. Let me tell you, any man would prefer someone like Aunt Vivian. At that moment, I didn't know what I was thinking. My own son was accusing me to my face of being inferior to the other woman, of being less gentle than her. These words cut straight to my heart. Suddenly, a punch landed on my son's face. Ethan stepped in front of me, grabbing him by the collar, his face dark and grim. Derek, I have never seen anyone talk about their own mother like that. She is your mother, and you praise the person who hurt her as being better than her. Are you even human? Everything you eat and use, isn't it all paid for with your mother's money? How much money has that father of yours ever given you? That Aunt Vivian of yours only cooked a few meals for you, and you think she's better than your mother. The lavish meals your mother had prepared for you, you said they didn't feel like home. I'm really curious if your eyes are blind. You can't even see who treats you well. After being punched, my son lunged at Ethan in defiance. Who are you? You're just a substitute tutor for me. Do you think changing your surname makes you a member of the Carter family? What right do you have to lecture me? Soon the two were brawling, and the butler and servants immediately stepped in to separate them. After they were pulled apart, both had injuries on their faces and looked disheveled. I walked up to my son and calmly asked, "Do you think that mistress is better than me, more suited to be your mother?" My son didn't speak, but I could see everything he was thinking in his eyes. I let out a cold laugh, truly wondering how I gave birth to a son who can't tell right from wrong. I stared at him coldly. Derek, think carefully about the tutoring class I signed you up for. My son fell silent instantly, staring straight at me. I did say that the heir of the Carter family has a lot to learn, but I only asked you to attend the heir classes. It was you who had too many interests, wanting to learn this and that. You begged me to sign you up and I did. But what about you? You gave up after just a few days. The more I thought about it, the angrier I became and my voice grew louder. Why did I have people push you to study? You always work in fits and starts. I wanted you to understand that you shouldn't give up on anything you do. Your mind is restless, unable to settle on anything. How can I feel at ease and trusting the company to you in the future? My son's body stiffened. I knew what he was thinking. Over the years, he felt I was too strict while his father played the role of a loving parent in front of him, slandering me behind my back. Gradually, this made him believe that I was the one forcing him to study. I looked weary. I admit that in this life, I still held a sliver of hope for him. I even considered giving him a sum of money after Ethan took over the family business. After all, he was the child I had struggled to bring into this world, but he knew exactly how to rub salt into my wounds. It could only be said that in his eyes, I was never his mother. As his mother, I am a villain in his eyes. I held back my tears. Go back to your father. You don't like me. You like that mistress. You came here for her to speak against your own mother. I, Clara Carter, don't have a son like you. Get out of my sight right now. I shouted, pointing toward the door. My son walked to the entrance to put on his shoes. Fine. I'll leave. I don't want to stay in this house at all. Until the door slammed shut. I sat on the sofa, unable to hold back my tears. I have completely given up on Derek for this lifetime. In the end, you never saw me as your mother. Mom. I'm sorry. Ethan stood beside me with a tissue, full of remorse. Please don't cry. I shouldn't have hit him. I wiped away my tears. Ethan, it's not your fault. Mom just didn't expect him to miss me that much. I'm completely done with him now. Ethan felt a bit distressed. It was the first time he had seen me cry. Mom, don't worry. You still have me, don't you? In the few months leading up to the college entrance exam, my son stayed at his father's place. He never called me, and I didn't call him either. I brought Ethan to the Carter Group for an internship. This time, the top executives at Carter Group sensed something was off. I didn't hide it and directly admitted that Ethan was my son. These people were shocked when I adopted the child. At first, they were full of disdain, thinking I had hired an actor to cover for Derek. But they were quickly proven wrong. Ethan is very sharp-minded, and with years of tutoring, he secured a major deal for the Carter Corporation in just 1 month, successfully silencing those critics. I know what they're thinking. Over the years, they've been investigating my son. Although they found out that my son had been attending those tutoring classes, his grades and other aspects were poor. So, they let their guard down, believing that the Carter Corporation would eventually fall into their hands. What they didn't know was that it was Ethan who was attending the tutoring class. I had all of Ethan's information hidden. And since my son didn't want to study, he wasn't foolish enough to tell anyone about it. After Ethan secured the big deal, he invited me to dinner that evening. It was supposed to be a joyful occasion, but unexpectedly, we ran into my ex-husband's illegitimate daughter. Since it was still early, Ethan took me to the mall and said he wanted to buy me a handbag. I told him it wasn't necessary, but he insisted, and knowing it was his way of showing appreciation, I agreed. However, while I was in the restroom, that illegitimate daughter happened to pass by and took a liking to Ethan. She walked up to him with an arrogant air and asked for his name. Ethan frowned irritably and said, "Get lost." Unexpectedly, Abigail was still excited, saying, "I get it. You're just shy, aren't you?" She deliberately showed off the Chanel bag she had just bought. "My name is Abigail. It's okay if you don't know me now, but you will in the future." Seeing that Ethan ignored her and was still looking at his phone, Abigail grew a bit angry. "Hey, are you listening? Let me tell you, my status is not ordinary. My brother will be part of the Carter Group in the future." Ethan gave her a look, and Abigail's eyes flashed with smugness. Knowing he would react this way, she had to admit, Ethan's face was her ideal type. Ethan's appearance exuded a gentle and elegant aura, giving off a sense of steadiness and reliability. So, she was still considering whether to talk to her parents about making him Olivia's son-in-law in the future. Abigail's attitude was somewhat arrogant. "Did you hear what I said?" Ethan snapped back to reality, realizing why she looked somewhat familiar. She was the illegitimate daughter of Derek's foolish deadbeat dad. He had seen her once a few years ago when she was already very fat. And now she was so fat that only her eye slits were visible. Ethan smiled ambiguously. "I heard it. Miss Abigail's name truly matches her appearance." Abigail revealed a satisfied smile. "Her name, Abigail, is a homophone for sinking fish. Wasn't that a compliment to her beauty?" It had been a long time since anyone praised her. It seemed he had some taste after all. But the next moment, she heard Ethan say, "Plump enough to make a fish sink." Abigail's face flushed red with embarrassment. She glared fiercely at Ethan and said through gritted teeth, "Say that again, and I'll make sure you don't have a good day." I figured I had watched enough of the show, so I walked over to Ethan and asked, "Ethan, what's wrong?" Then I glanced at Abigail, pretending to understand something, and said meaningfully, "Ethan, Mom tells you, even if a girl is short, weighs over 200 pounds, and is ugly, Mom won't say anything, but her character must be good." Ethan couldn't help but laugh. "Mom, rest assured, your son's taste isn't that bad." I nodded with satisfaction. while Abigail beside me was already fuming with anger. She lunged at me, but Ethan and I reacted quickly, stepping back several paces. She missed and fell to the ground with a loud thud. I instinctively patted my chest. That scared me to death. If she had tackled me, I'd definitely be flattened into a pancake. Ethan was amused by my remark, probably seeing his mother in this light for the first time. Abigail had put force into that lunge. So, her right hand, which hit the ground first, was crushed under her massive body and broke instantly, now lying on the ground, wailing in pain. But I still kindly called an ambulance for her. Ethan, do you think she'll try to scam us by breaking her own hand? But it's fine. Mom has money. If she tries to scam us, I'll have someone break her left hand instead. After all, I have the money to cover her treatment. Abigail was already in excruciating pain, and upon hearing my words, she fainted from sheer anger. The next day, my son rushed to the company to find me in a panic. I looked at his furious expression 3 months apart, and he had only become more degenerate. With only a dozen or so days left until the college entrance exam, he not only skips class and refuses to study, but now he's dyed his hair red. Truly an eyesore. Abigail has no grudge against you. So, why are you targeting her? I raised an eyebrow. Derek, do you have any evidence saying I harmed her? If you have no evidence, I can sue you for defamation. You're 18 now, so spending a few days inside isn't out of the question. My son was choked by my words. He indeed had no evidence. He had guessed it was me based on Abigail's description. Abigail said that day there were 2 people, seemingly a mother and son. The most obvious feature was the Hermes crocodile leather bag I was carrying, which immediately made him think of me. Additionally, when he heard me call out the name Ethan, it completely confirmed that the person was me. Abigail then twisted the truth and told Derek a long story. This brainless fool immediately believed her and even comforted the mistress, telling her not to worry, he would avenge his sister. So, he came straight to me. Clara, aren't you just relying on your money? My son sneered. You keep bullying my dad and Aunt Vivian's family, just trying to get me to come back. Fine. I'll go home, but I want you to apologize to them and compensate for all the losses over the years. Otherwise, I won't come back. And you can just spend the rest of your life with your Carter Corporation. His father told him that when they got married, his mother insisted on taking him with her. He even used the Carter family to threaten him, saying that he was the future heir of the Carter family. His father had no choice but to give him up so that he could have a better life. But, he had loved him all these years. I looked at him like he was an idiot. Did he really think I still cared about him? I had given up on him long ago, the moment he took that thief as his mother. I raised an eyebrow and smiled. Sure. My son's face instantly brightened, but my next words left him frozen in place. Then, you don't need to come home. The Carter Corporation doesn't need an ignorant waste to lead it. Derek, you don't actually think you're capable of inheriting the Carter Corporation now, do you? Now that you're an adult, I've raised you for 18 years. You've had 50,000 yuan a month in living expenses all these years, and I haven't been harsh on you. Yet, you acknowledge that mistress as your mother and helped that illegitimate daughter frame me. I don't think I'm magnanimous enough to tolerate this. I took out an agreement and placed a pen on top of it, gesturing to him. Sign it. Once you sign this, you can go live with your worthless father's family. You can call that mistress mom for all I care, and you'll be free of me, this wicked mother. My son's face turned ugly, and it took him a moment to force out the words. Are you crazy? You want me to sign a mother-son estrangement agreement? What about the Carter Corporation's future? I took a sip of coffee. You seem to forget I have more than one son. The Carter Corporation will still have Ethan. My son said angrily. He is not your biological son. Are you going to give the family fortune to an outsider? I replied. I think it's fine. Rather than having my own child turn against me, I'd rather give it to someone who is filial to me. My son's neck turned red with rage. Give it up. I'm not signing. He wasn't stupid now. He knew that once he signed, he would no longer be part of the Carter family. But how could I let him refuse? I had a few people hold him down and made him sign the agreement. Finally, he was thrown out of the company. I never expected that my ex-husband's family would post Abigail's injury online and contact several marketing accounts, claiming that Clara Carter, the president of the Carter Group, beat my daughter in the street, causing her to suffer a fracture. Once the marketing accounts posted it, it received a huge response. The official Carter Group blog was flooded with criticism. After all, in this day and age, many people harbor resentment toward the wealthy. I didn't even need to think about it. It was my son who did it, because only he would come up with such a dirty trick. He hasn't read much over the years, so his mind is simple. Indeed, he didn't realize that everything requires evidence. He blindly believed Abigail based solely on her words. How utterly foolish. I contacted them all to retrieve the surveillance footage, then posted videos and photos of my ex-husband's infidelity and Derek acknowledging the mistress as his mother on the official Carter Corporation Weibo account. The caption read, "The innocent are clear of guilt. From today onward, Derek is no longer a member of the Carter family." For someone so simple-minded as to acknowledge an enemy as a mother, the Carter Corporation neither wants nor can afford to keep him. This time, my ex-husband's family was completely exposed. In particular, classmates who had been bullied by Abigail began leaving comments with evidence, claiming that Abigail had bullied them because her brother was part of the Carter Corporation. And Ethan was very effective, directly having someone break Abigail's other arm. Now Abigail has both arms broken and cannot take care of herself. The most explosive part was when the mistress was exposed as a high-end escort, and then she got together with the scumbag. However, my son received the most criticism. No mother can tolerate her own child's betrayal, especially when he treats the mistress as his mother. My ex-husband's family also dared not go out because every time they stepped outside, they would be scolded and rotten eggs were thrown at their doorstep. After staying for a few days, the college entrance exam was about to begin, and my son had to leave home. He sneaked away at around 4 o'clock in the morning. When the exam ended, he saw me holding a bouquet of flowers waiting outside for Ethan. Looking somewhat confused. In the end, he silently left. I saw him but didn't give him a single glance. Focusing intently on the handsome, sunny young man in front of me, I smiled and said, "Ethan, happy graduation." Ethan took the flowers and said, "Thank you, Mom." When the college entrance exam scores came out, everyone was amazed that this year's top science scorer had 739 points. Until the Carter family's official blog posted it. This year's top scorer in the college entrance exam is our young master Ethan from the Carter family. They also released the previous recommendation qualification. The young master said he wanted to experience the college entrance exam, and unexpectedly became the top scorer in the science category. Mr. Carter is very happy. We're giving away 100,000 yuan to 10 people in the comments section. Come and join. The comments section was filled with blessings, and the Carter family also trended on the hot search. My ex-husband's family remained silent. My son looked at the scores on his phone and closed his eyes in disappointment. His score barely passed the cutoff for vocational colleges. And even then, he could only attend a very poor one. He opened Weibo again and looked at the trending topics. During this time, after learning that her son would not inherit the Carter family, my ex-husband and his family completely changed their attitude toward him. The mistress was exposed as a socialite, leading to daily arguments with my ex-husband, who even began to suspect that Abigail was not his biological child and demanded a paternity test. Meanwhile, Vivian, who had once been gentle with him, revealed her ugly true face, calling him useless for failing to secure the Carter Group. She also demanded that he pay for his long-term accommodation and living expenses. Abigail, upon realizing he was no longer the heir to the Carter Group, sneered, "I was waiting for you to avenge me, but I didn't expect you to be so useless." My son couldn't believe why these people had changed so drastically. When he had money, they fawned over him desperately. But now that he had nothing to do with the Carter family, they immediately showed a completely different face. The former underlings no longer followed him. Without his status as the heir of the Carter family, he seemed to be nothing. He placed his hand over his heart as if he had lost something very important. 6 months later, I suddenly received a phone call. The moment the call connected, I heard my son's crying voice. "Mom, I was wrong. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have kicked you out of the house. I'm not human. Mom, I'm sorry." My ears kept ringing with his apologies. And at that moment, I knew he had also been reborn. I cut him off. "Derek, I am not your mother. Your mother died the moment you drove her out of the house." My son cried and roared, but I didn't listen anymore. "I don't know what you went through after I died. And I don't want to know. Moreover, I will not forgive you. So, stop bothering me." I hung up the phone and closed my eyes wearily. "You didn't cherish how good I was to you back then. And only after I died did you realize a mother's love. But, it's too late. My son, I am human, too. You hurt me so deeply. How could I easily forgive you?" The next time I heard news of my son was after a meeting. I opened my phone and saw online reports. My son had killed his father's entire family and then slit his own wrists. I didn't know what I was thinking. I numbly logged out of Weibo and noticed a red notification dot. Subconsciously, I clicked on it and opened the message from that stranger. "Mom, I'm sorry. When you see this letter again, I think I'll already be dead. The most despicable thing I did in my past life was not listening to your advice and trusting that scumbag and his family. Taking his mistress as my mother. Mom, I don't ask for your forgiveness. I was just too foolish to see people clearly. I also let you and the Carter family down. After you died in my past life, that scumbag's family colluded with those petty people in the Carter family to drain it dry. And in the end, the Carter family became theirs. Once they got their hands on the Carter family, the first thing they did was kick me out of the house." How familiar that scene was. At that moment, my heart felt like it was being cut to pieces. I couldn't believe they would do this. I had been so good to them, yet I never expected they would join forces with those petty people to strip me of my rights. "Mom, I finally understand how you felt back then. They told me they were just casually giving a little kindness, and I treated them like saints, saying that the one who truly cared for me was you. I regret it so much. I ran to so many places looking for you until I found Ethan, who said you were dead. He beat me up badly, saying I didn't deserve to see you. I cried and said it was impossible. He just told me to get lost, saying you wouldn't want to see me again. Yeah, after how I treated you, you might never forgive me, even in death. I kowtowed hard on the ground, begging you to come back. In the end, I knocked my head bloody and was taken to the hospital. After I woke up, I kept planning to kill the scumbag's family, but in my past life, I still owe it to Ethan, who successfully took control of the Carter Corporation. It's a pity that in my past life, I didn't kill them, but I was reborn. And at that moment, I was truly excited and thrilled. I felt that I would no longer make mistakes and could repay you properly. It's a pity that I came too late. Perhaps this is heaven's punishment for me, but I also know that you must have been reborn as well. So, you gave up on me. However, this is what I deserve. Mom, I made so many mistakes in my past life and in this life. I must atone for them by killing everyone who hurt you, including myself. But Mom, let me tell you one thing. Abigail is not the biological child of that scumbag. I hope that in the next life, I can still be your son. I swear I will definitely be filial to you." After watching it, I could no longer hold myself together. I broke down in loud, anguished sobs as an overwhelming wave of pain engulfed me until I cried myself unconscious. When I woke up in the hospital, I saw Ethan standing beside me, looking at me with concern. I forced a smile and said, "Ethan, Mom is fine." 4 years later, after Ethan graduated from university, I handed the company over to him. I sent Ethan a message. "Ethan, the company is yours now. Mom is going out to see the world." In the years that followed, I traveled to many places around the world. It wasn't until Ethan got married that I returned. I saw the girl beside him. She was very beautiful, well-educated, and a perfect match for Ethan. Later on, I had 2 grandsons. Every time I went somewhere, I would send postcards to the 2 little ones. They were very happy and said that when they grew up, They wanted to be as free and happy as grandma. Free and happy. I suppose so.